Bricks and Minifigs is your one-stop shop for all things LEGO. Hit the link below to find a store near you. Behind me is a massive LEGO Halo layout here at BrickFair Chantilly, and I've got all the builders with me. If you want to introduce yourself and tell us what we've got here.
Certainly. My name is Ben Grayson, Ben Bricks Online, and we have the Silent Bricktographer. This is a massive build, 9 people contributed, and a huge project. Took a lot of months of planning, a little bit less of build time, had some crunch time, but a very great project. So we're going to kick it off here with Peter Spartan Bricks and let him talk it through.
Okay, perfect. We'll start over here with your section.
Thanks. I'll take us over here to the end cap. So this is taking, most of our sections, we're taking inspiration from Halo CE, the game. So we took a lot of creative liberties, but there are still some main structures and elements that are faithful to the game. And so my end structure here is kind of dominated by this Forerunner structure here. We called it the rectangle structure because it's vaguely rectangular, in contrast to Simon's Millennium Falcon style structure on the other side that he'll talk about in a minute. But it's kind of dominated by this structure that extends down into the Forerunner caverns below the surface. And as you'll see through the build, the caverns continue through the entire subsurface of the Halo ring here. So it could be some kind of relay station, some kind of science facility. We don't know. It's up to the beholder's imagination here. But starting kind of up top, we have a UNSC Falcon, which is not directly in the game, but in lore, it's found on the Pillar of Autumn. So it could have been on the ring. So that's a custom design that's being showcased for the first time during this collab. So I featured working lights and working rotors there in the nacelles. So just to add a little bit of motion to the display. And moving down a little bit, we just got the standard kind of cliff profile that we all used for the build. Down into the beach section here where there's a blown up warthog, which is very common in game. These things are easy to flip, easy to blow up. And there's a fire team of ODSTs there, led by First Lieutenant Melissa McKay from the books. And she is defending off a Covenant horde, which are coming at her. You've got grenades coming from the grenade launcher and the Falcon, exploding this pit of grunts here, methane flying everywhere from their breathing apparatuses, Marines going down, grunts going down. So it's mayhem on the beach here. Moving down into the beach a little bit, we used a kind of a standard water design. We added a little bit of waves to the water itself with the 1x2 trans light blue tiles, just to kind of add a little bit of texture to it. So you can kind of see there's this wave profile that continues down the entire beach, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And then moving down into the Forerunner structure below, my main feature for my structure section here is this kind of quarter or eighth of a cylinder section here. It's dominated by these mirrors. So I have one mirror in the bottom and then one mirror in the top. So if you look kind of into it, it gives this effect of like a infinite cavern kind of. So they did the light just bounces off the top and bottom. So it's kind of fun. Forerunner structures in Halo are characterized by their crazy deep caverns and chasms. So I wanted to capture that with the mirrors. I thought it turned out okay. It's kind of fun. People have been enjoying it today, which is fun to see that.
Yeah.
So Sergeant Johnson, as well, is here with a buddy pair of Marines, exploring the caverns, interacting with some Covenant.
Now, is this button part of yours, or what does that connect to?
It is. So I wanted to add a little bit of interactivity to my section. So a little button here, if you push it, it turns on and off the explosion in the Warthog up above. So if I press that there, it just turns the explosion off. So I'll turn it back on for you. Nothing crazy, but just a little bit of interactivity for the public. It's sometimes fun just to put that in there. So that's what that is. And then moving around the right side of the build as well, we've got 3 more major rooms. I'll move Bryce's helmet. But we have 3 major rooms, or minor rooms, I suppose, here. Kind of a Forerunner elevator shaft here with a kind of a light bridge and a light elevator in there. And it actually moves, and I'll give you a demonstration of that. Hopefully it's working. But the elevator goes up and down here. You got a grunt riding it up and down. Just a simple cable system here. And it could theoretically go up into the superstructure, but the shaft ends there. So just kind of a fun, another motorized feature in the build to add some depth to it. And the top room here, we have 2 Marines enjoying themselves. They found a empty room. They've captured a grunt. One Marine in the back is spray painting the Eagle Globe and Anchor from today's Marine Corps on the wall. And the other Marine is enjoying a bar of chocolate and a canteen. With their grunt prisoner, while a confused elite watches on in confusion. And below them, unbeknownst to the Marines and the Covenant yet, there is a room with flood in it. So the flood has not yet been unleashed on the ring in this point in the game. So you've got a carrier form and a couple infection forms there with a flickering light and a red door to symbolize that it's locked. Ben has another section of flood on the other side of the build too, but we thought it would be fun to incorporate some flood into the build as well here. So that pretty much covers my section here. I've got another warthog on the other side by Simon's shaft, but this is my major section. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Daniel to talk about his next section of the build.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great work.
Hello everyone, my name is Daniel Zimmerman, also known as Taco Bricks Online. And right here we have my section of Forerunner and landscaping section in our awesome collaborative. So I guess to start off with is exactly how I built it. I started off going with the Forerunner underground sections. After last year's Zeta Halo collab, we wanted to not just expand this lengthwise, we also wanted to expand it vertically, add a lot of height to it, give it some depth and height, make it a lot more striking. So we started off planning how can we make this Forerunner underground section really cool and really special. So what I did as I was building is I started actually playing the Silent Cartographer level of Combat Evolved. Now as I'm playing through the level, I'm looking at all the details that I'm seeing around in the game and thinking, you know what, that looks like this Lego piece, or this looks like that Lego piece, or maybe, that looks like a really cool walkway or wall detail that would be really interesting to try to recreate all the Lego bricks. So one of the first things I did was in this section was doing this hallway. What's really kind of interesting and unique about Forerunner architecture, it's all angled, there's almost no straight lines, but there's no curves either. You got everything going at different angles, and as you know, Lego is mostly only straight lines or right angles. It's really kind of tricky to get those odd angles in there sometimes, but that's what is kind of a fun challenge. So I really focus hard on getting these wall details, like curving inwards and back out, and then curving deeper, and then also making sure I had room for all these lights to come in and look really interesting. So the hallway you're seeing right now, if you are a hardcore Halo fan, you will know in the beginning of the Silent Cartographer level, when you're in the underground, you'll go down one hallway and it'll cut to this cutscene where Master Chief looks down this ginormous pit. This is actually that hallway, and at the very end is that pit that you would look down. So I really tried to specifically recreate specific parts of the level, so when people are coming by, they can see it and they can point out, hey, that's Silent Cartographer, I know what that is. And that actually happened today during the public hours, which makes me really happy that I was able to convey through the bricks actual representation that people can recognize. And I also thought I'd spice things up by having this explosion here, adding some light, adding some action, because this is an active war zone, an active battleground. This is a fight between the UNSC and the Covenant. They're fighting for the control of the Halo by trying to find the Silent Cartographer itself. So you have the explosion, you have the action going on under here. And in this big room here, this is the room that you would enter and you would fight tons of jackals and grunts and the elites trying to fight them. But also we have the Sentinels, these flying drones right here. These were made by my friend of mine, Cody, known as Cody Avery Builds on Instagram. He made these awesome Sentinels, and the Guilty Spark there as well, this little guy right here, he made them. So be sure to check him out and his work. He's really awesome. And he did a great job adding these to this room and spicing up this build and adding some life. I had a lot of fun doing the floor designs, just messing around with angle tiles and seeing, like I said earlier, there's like no right angles or no straight lines. It's just all angles. Just trying to figure out how to get those in the floor as well was also interesting. A lot of grill plates were used through this, thank God. There was it on the pick-a-brick wall a while back because they really come in handy. I love the pick-a-brick wall, my favorite part of the Lego store. But yeah, then moving up, you have the landscaping up here that I did. Landscaping is one of my favorite things to build out of Lego. It's just, get to use slopes, you get to use brick. You really get to take this rectangular plastic toy and turn it into something that doesn't look rectangular, something that looks natural and flowing. And I have a lot of fun doing that. And it was also interesting to match up the other collaborators' work, their color schemes, and matching up where our sections ended and where mine began. So as I'm building, I'm looking at Tanner, who's next, his section right here. I'm looking at his, look at the picture, the side profile he had here. I'm like, okay, counting these studs, making sure I start at the right place, end at the right place, and next to Peter's as well, making sure I'm counting and ending here. And of course, the whole Covenant army, which was most of the army that you see here, the designs were made by our collaborator Uncle Sammy Poo, which we will talk to later, I'm sure. He made these awesome designs, and I wanted to give him a really nice battleground area to really show off these figures because he really did a great job designing them. Ben, who you'll also talk to later, he did the Covenant vehicles. Finn did the Warthogs. It was just great. I love doing landscaping and foliage. It was really, really nice getting to show off my skills in that. And like I said earlier, adding some action. I had a little fire pit here. It looks like a grenade just went off. And I had some lights in there, that was really fun. It's always fun to light up a Lego build as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun stuff going on here.
Incredible work. Thank you so much.
Thank
Fantastic. Who do we have up next then?
Thank you. So up next we have Tanner here with his awesome underground. Oh, actually, sorry, not Tanner. Before we get to Tanner, we're going to talk to Lego Finn, who made these awesome Warthogs. So let's bring him over here. And thanks for talking to me.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Finn, Lego Finn, or Finn Can't Build on YouTube, and I built the 2 olive green Warthogs here. They can fit up to 3 Marines, got a spinning turret, and each wheel has individual suspension. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Great work.
Hello, I'm Tanner, Detroitka on Instagram and Flickr. I built a little bit of this underground area, the part with the floating halo ring. So the map is called the Silent Cartographer, this level, right? And it's a map of Halo that they go and find. And this is supposed to be a map with this floating Halo installation ring in space. I don't have the same architecture skills as some of the other wonderful members here, so it was really fun to kind of branch out, try building this Forerunner architecture that I've dreamed about since being, 13, 14 years old. It's great to make these dreams finally come true with this great set of people. There's some horrible made-up technique to get these angled parts on the front here correct. I mean, it's fragile, but it's nice because it leaves me kind of gapless. And that was something I strived for, was to have everything look like you could be right there and just be in the scene yourself, right? The silver parts were part of that. This motif right here is from the Halo game. It's an arrow that points you in the direction you kind of have to go in the level, but it's part of the architecture. So it was cool to try and mimic exactly what they designed way back in 2001 for this game. There is a motor running this ring inside, which is from the original Mindstorms kit, and the motor was having issues at first. Turns out it was an old battery box, so I have a wire sticking out of a battery box. It's always on. You plug it in with the old 90s system. I mean, the wires are starting to fray, but we're working. So it was really fun. There's a gear ratio in there. First time I've done a gear ratio. And if you remember the Halo Infinite build from last year, that had a big influence on what happened this year. One of the places that happened is with these little details. As I was studying Forerunner architecture, one of the things that came out and what people value about it is it being kind of a circuit board cathedral, kind of a combination of these awesome things. And that little 45-degree trick I used in my hexagons from last year really came in handy. Also, some weird 45-degree angle stuff going on here. I want to show that this uses the old version from before 1987 of this modified 1x1, and that's the only way that that's able to sit flush. So I built that underground section, and then everything from about these shields over to the edge. And the cliffs were my main effort for this whole thing. So they were inspired by the level, obviously, first and foremost, but also by a place called Le Tréas in French. It's on the Mediterranean coast of France. And Peter, the first gentleman you spoke with, designed this beautiful blue color gradient for the sea, right? And we really like that. But I designed this color gradient for the rocks, where it starts from reddish brown to dark orange, medium nougat, dark tan, topped by green and bright green. And it was great doing that collaboratively with what can we do, what's going to look different and great. Yeah, I pulled out a lot of weird techniques. This is all angled on these wedge plates that transition from 1x3 to 2x3. And I tried to build it in smoothly, you know. Building at weird angles causes these difficult spots where you have to reconcile this horrible angle to the rest of the system, but that ends up resulting in some of the coolest rock moments in a way. It's trying to keep it dynamic. integrated into the rock is this symbol, this Forerunner symbol from the games. And in the later games, I don't know, they get into what it means, but it doesn't really matter much to me because when you're going through the first game, there's this mysterious symbol that just kind of shows up in places and you don't know why, and it kind of adds to the ambiance. And I wanted to deliver that in this build. So it's a little bit of a mixture between original graphics, which we really like, and the anniversary edition of Halo Combat Evolved, which came out in 2011, which had a lot of problems with how it looked, but I really liked the vines they added into this level. So I tried to add in some of those with these, kind of special trickling down vines and parts. Moving on to the real, I knew I wanted to build a focal point of this after last year making those hexagons in the cliff. There's a lot of very talented rock builders out there that I admire, and I didn't want to let them down. So this whole thing is set at 45 degrees. There's a valid technique from a set that just sets it at a perfect 45, integrated with the rest of the cliffs, and it's this rock arch in the level. You get one of these vehicles and drive around, and this rock arch is one of the places you can go through. I exaggerated it a little bit, but I use, with a very different method, I use these same angled wedge plates to give the whole thing this angle to it, because I knew that the people who really love LEGO detail would notice, hey, hold on, that whole thing is at this, skewy angle. It was really exciting to make that happen. A lot of last minute builds, but this part I really was able to focus on in previous months. You can see, so we're at 45 back here. You can see where the plates meet. We go back to normal system as it moves along the beach, and then the base of the pillar is connected also at this 45-degree angle. I really love what Sam, who's going to speak next, but I'll speak a little more first. Love what he did with these figures around here. I made this little... a couple people have given me fun fish parts, and so I built this bird, this alien bird that has gone and caught a fish. Luckily, this part that you can find in LEGO stores, this acorn hat, fits with the color gradient that we designed. It ends up being, I think, 15 colors moving up total as I counted, and that just hopefully makes for a really nice viewing experience. So we wanted to go for a very different bottom from the very different kind of jungly top. I used some weird techniques in the rocks themselves, lots of things not at the right angle, lots of things off by 1/2 plate. I really like this rock here. And this other tiny one way over here, if I reach through this cliff, that's based on some of that La Treas, France, Mediterranean, where these vines just kind of creep over the rocks in these beautiful patterns. So yeah, I'm really happy with what I accomplished. There's so much more that we could have done and will do in future years, I hope. It's great to have done both architecture and landscape, which kind of, my heart throbs for. And I also completed just a small, edge of it as we get around here. I don't think there's too much more to say, maybe other than to call out, there's these fun friends stickers of fish. Which kind of added a fun, not Easter egg, but a fun little bit of character into this thing. So yeah, I hope people who build rocks really enjoy this. I hope people who even don't know about such things also enjoy this.
Absolutely.
It's a great experience. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, great work. It looks incredible. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, our next builder then.
Oh, hello. I didn't really build anything in the structure, but I did build the Covenant, if you want.
That counts. If you want to give us your name real quick, and then you can show us some of that.
Oh, hello. My name is Uncle Sammy Poo. I was responsible for the posing of the figures and procuring some of the Covenant and the titular character himself, a Mr. John Halo from the famous hit video game series Halo. My goal was with the Covenant to make them, how do you put it, scaled with minifigures. I had been searching for pre-existing designs, even going back to the olden days of Flickr and even going on Instagram. And out of all places, I found a really solid set of designs from this Tumblr blog of all places. This user named Hentrife, who I want to give a shout out to for these designs. Now, I did have to modify some of these designs with some third-party elements and some different piece usage that I thought looked way better than the initial design. But overall, their Covenant designs were just... I'm quite surprised no one has ever made these. Not that, from what I've seen, I haven't seen them being used anywhere or being built anywhere. So, yeah, the great thing was when I built them initially, I was very surprised with how well they stood next to minifigures, especially the elites, because the elites have always been, well, really the Covenant as a whole have been a challenge when it comes to Halo mocks and building something from Halo, whether that be vehicles or enemies or just structures here, like the Forerunner architecture. Oh, Forerunner architecture, I would say, from at least in the older games, translates beautifully into LEGO. It's simple, it's effective, it is iconic, and very cost-effective too.
Excellent work there. Yeah, it's great to hear more. I mean, the figures are so much, the characters make this game so much. So
Yeah.
It's very cool to hear more about that.
Yeah, the figures were, the Marines were donated generously by our sponsor, Clips Graphics, Victor, who also owns Brick Warriors, and he made us a set of human and Covenant weapons, and I gotta say, they came out so beautifully. They are... I might take some home with me, a lot. Hopefully the TSA doesn't stop me from with the amount of plastic that I have in my bag. Hopefully they don't get too suspicious. He also, how do I put this? He also printed us some accessories, which I don't know if you could see them in the build, but he did that as well. Yeah, the Marines, I think my cohorts mentioned how we crunched super hard for this build. We were playing for months, and up until 1 or 2 months ago, they decided to build, get to building, and yeah, it just like last year, it came out so well. It's amazing how much they have built in such little time. It's honestly incredible.
This whole build is incredible. So thank you so much for your contributions here. I think that takes us to the underground section here. So we got our next builder up.
Hey, my name is Ben Brickson here, and here we've got a hunter room. Sam talked about how he had a lot of beautiful figures, which is very true. He did a phenomenal job with grunts, jackals, and elites. One figure I want to try to tackle is the hunter. They are a bigger, bulkier kind of a unit, the sort of tank armor, real heavy guard units. And aligning the Tanner, following through the door technique he'd come up with last year's build, that comes down ramping through a section. So if you were to move through the level from this direction, as these few unfortunate Marines have tried to do, you have to get through the massive heavy guard units of the Covenant. And always working in pairs. One is always shooting from a distance typically, while another larger one could be charging, like our unfortunate fellow right there. Going through some of the techniques, the Forerunner has a lot of, it's not agreeable, but you see a lot of symbols. They are based heavily off of a kind of religious entities, and Halo draws from that inspiration quite a bit. So looking on the walls, there are all sorts of columns repeated, various details, and a lot of heavy patterning. That follows up in the series of 6 columns you've got back there, which use a lot of smaller quarter tiles and dark bluish gray particularly, angling up, getting the kind of round shape with then some of the angling shooting out to then pick up the ceiling. There is a variety of lighting throughout this build you've seen in some of the Forerunner sections, and it's particularly trying to give it a blue glow. One of the most kind of iconic things in there is the blue glowing doors you see, particularly in the back of the shot there. And then there's other sorts of static or moving lights, but by using a waterfall light in the ceiling, you get some reflection going down that ramp that then you can see kind of illuminate the surface, especially more in scenarios like World of Lights.
Yeah, that's amazing. The architecture, like you were saying, just pops so much. Even though it's only mostly grays, you're able to do so much with that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the game of playing with only gray elements. What can you use to create texture, not like a sci-fi Greeble Star Wars type of build, but a very controlled. You can see on the outer pillar there are some ball sockets, kind of the female end of that. Inside some of the, it's like what is it, kind of like a motor exhaust port on the side. A lot of pneumatic launchers are great elements because they've got an interesting pattern, and also it's a cheap kind of unused part on Bricklink quite a bit, so kind of part spamming that is a great way to get kind of a fun repeated texture.
Perfect.
Off in the next space here, they don't actually see them in the game, but another alien unit that's kind of important is some of the engineers. They're kind of a creator, healer to some of the Covenants. And here we have a few grunts on a suspended bridge. Surprised to see them down here. Just kind of two walls coming out of a much smaller shaft here. And again, you can see on the wall some of those pneumatic launchers going up, where there's just kind of the variety of patterning and greebling we had talked about previously. The engineers are much more of an organic, squishier kind of shape. So trying to capture that back with a jelly bean shaped structure, using all the translucent dark blue and then some of the teal bananas, which is kind of a fun element, and then teal tails as well to give this kind of floating, hovering look of them going around. As we move through that door, what could be a hallway in there, we try to have a kind of a thick pochette between spaces of where it can make sense in layouts. You move into what I've dubbed kind of a cathedral space. It's a very tall room, kind of you see this massive symbol over the doorway back there, which I'm not sure what that means, but it's a very kind of prominent in the space, especially with like the white light only appearing in one of these areas. It's a end space you walk into as soon as you enter the Silent Cartographer, and then one you see in a very tall moment. A lot of rooms can be kind of lower in scale, more hallway shooting around, but it's a very grand space you see in game. In this room, it's more of a peaceful area for the Covenant. You have a variety of sleeping grunts. Again, a design Sam had come up with, kind of having them hanging out in the space.
Very nice.
Last little section here, the Flood you do not appear in the game as well, but different kind of blue, peaceful Covenant. It's kind of the antithesis with the red flashing as this parasite's breaking out, going to infect the world, which you will slowly encounter in the game in a bit. And so with that, we'll pass off to our next building, Simon Mox here, who has a massive pelican shaft.
Perfect. We'll get Simon up here then and take us through this next section.
All right, so I'm Simon, or Simox online. This is my section. So one of like the iconic parts of the Silent Cartographer map was the pelican dropping into this silo, and when I kind of got involved, they were like, "Hey, this is really cool. Can you build us a pelican?" Because everyone knows I love dropships and stuff, and like I said, basically in one condition, it has to be olive. Even though it's very difficult color to work with, it is iconically olive in my mind. Depending on who you ask, it is absolutely not olive. It is sand green. There's like other variations, as well as set. Olive is probably the worst color to choose. But the main reason this was even possible was because of the new Lamborghini set. So if you take a look, there are all these new wedges that only existed in that new Lamborghini set. So that set is what made this build even possible. Like you can see, use here. I couldn't actually even BrickLink them because they weren't on BrickLink at the time. I had to do Brick Owl, which is the other type, because that was the only place I got it. So like it's kind of fun that say I bought the world supply of that piece to do the Pelican 1 and Pelican 2. The other fun thing is I built them in conjunction or in parallel, so I'd start building one, and then I'd tweak something, then I would like build the other one, and I kept showing the same
whip pictures to the group, but I always kept switching pelicans back and forth. So for the longest running joke, they didn't actually believe I had to, because I never actually took a picture of both of them. So there's two variations. There's the one that's just floating, and you can see that it's just on the stilts. That's more of the standard one, and it has an internal battery pack in the top that I won't take out, but it's just hitting up there. The other one was designed to be floating, and we always wanted to do a floating dropship. I did this trick before on the helicopter scene that I did in World of Darkness, and you can kind of see it's just a large pillar there, but depending on the angle, you can't really see it. But also because of that, like this is very heavy. The back is very heavy, which meant I actually had to put in Lego magnets in the front of this to try to counterbalance it. On top of that, there's counterbalance on the opposite end because it's effectively a crane that is holding this up. So like there's a very large 10-pound support, and then on top of that, it needs to be counterbalanced on the opposite end to keep this like fairly stable. There's a little wiggle. And then on top of that, I had to build the silo. So the pelicans were the fun part, and then it's the less fun part where I had to build all this. But because we knew we want the lighting to be really like fun, this is actually really, really thin. A lot of it is basically 1 brick thick, which means it's a very flimsy wall with some supports, because the more supports you put in, the more lights will block it. The lights are just basically on behind and shining it because we wanted this really majestic glow in this area of the shaft coming down. It's kind of that iconic moment that we're trying to capture. And then on site, like normally I'm very, very good at finishing all my projects ahead of time, and then like weeks before, as you meet, usually like just goofing around and building other fun things. But this time I was actually very delayed to the point where I needed help, and like I gotta thank people like Kevin Wagner, Evan Johnson. They like sat down and helped do a lot of the trees. Or Finn, after he dropped off his 2 warthogs, like sat down, did a lot of the tiling and helping with the top, getting the trees built, putting that all into place, and of course all the fun placements and stuff. And even I had actually Kevin Wise has helped as well, doing the stickering for the pelicans for me while we set up all that. Oh, the other fun one is this wedge plate is only in the new T-Rex set that opened. That was 3 days ago as of shooting of this, which meant I had to buy 2 T-Rexes. So I limited myself. I knew there was 5 in that set of each side, so 10. So I could only use 10 of them per pelican because I was like, I'm only buying 2 of these sets. So I always say like these are $10 wedge plates because the Canadian, it's a $100 Canadian set. I had to buy 2 of them to just get 5 of those slopes for each side for both pelicans.
Wow, you just don't like making it easy on the part acquisition.
Well, well, because I petitioned so hard for olive as the main color. If I didn't do it right, I will never hear the end of it. Like, I wanted this build to be legendary, and it had to be done right.
No, and it did turn out amazing. So this whole section is incredible, and the way you did the shapes with the lighting as well and everything for the silo is great.
And just like a few more notes here, like a lot of this is like a collaboration where we didn't have set standards outside of like a certain height and such, but like the motif, we were very good at sharing that. So like a lot of this like slope, this was like Daniel's slope from way over there. I use that as a kind of a cut. You can see some like the doors and things, those are from Tanner's section, and even these the pillars were from Peter's section. So like I tried to make a real effort to try, and even the pillar back there that I forgot to light up, we're trying to like keep it cohesive, and one of the ways to do it cohesive is to share a lot of those motifs or stylings with everyone and make sure all the builds have that, so it ties a lot of it together. Like even like the struts down here, which is kind of lost in this, is kind of part of like Tanner struts that are over there in a similar redesigned way to make it work. And I feel like that's like one of the ways of how we get collabs well done is it has to be cohesive. Like you really shouldn't be able to tell exactly which section ends. Like, did Simon do another section or did Ben do that section? And I think we did a really good job of making it cohesive, especially like even like the terrain, like this, like the Forerunner or the Underground. That's kind of standard sci-fi-ish vibe that is easy to have different sections for, but the terrain and the fact that it is so consistent, and again, this goes back to Tanner's kind of guides that he sent us, making sure the waters are all right, making the sand, the beach, the mountains, and like it's just, this is a well executed, a bit procrastinating collaboration.
Absolutely. Really incredible stuff here. So thank you to you, Simon, for your incredible work and everyone else who was involved here. This is really incredible. So if you can talk a little bit more about kind of the collaboration process and how that worked as you guys were planning this out.
Certainly. So after BrickFair last year, we definitely want to do a larger Halo build. And that's where it came down to, all right, what level do we want to do? What scale, what size? And there are many months working this through. I sketched up in a 3D modeling software a rough kind of idea of what this could be after we hand drew various levels between this, the Silent Cartographer, and two Betrayals. That's a much wintry vibe, different kind of setting in a crevice. Where I decided with this, fun colors, a lot more vibrant, and then not just white snow. Could be a little boring. Getting the colors would be fun. And so after starting the beach section, figured out, hey guys, what moments do you want to do? Tanner was super passionate about doing an arch, which he pulled together beautifully. Peter was really interested in doing an elevator and then the shaft structure off to that beginning section like he mentioned. And then Simon just wanted to do a pelican as well as some big forerunner. So it was really great getting to let each folks kind of sign up, pick what sections they want to do after we had broken down the sketch into a series of 32 by 32 sections, going through a sign-up sheet. Hey, here's where your plot of land is essentially. Coordinate with your partner after you have met standards. Standards being a set forerunner height. So if you're doing forerunner up to a certain point, say it's, I think it's about 39 bricks, 2 plates, something like that. But that's your height. There's a series of segments in the kind of sedimentary rock, transitioning between the forerunner, the water gradients, water heights, all that stuff, so it would match up on site when we got here. So making sure those follow, and then coordinating with your partner how it blends together. Rock work on that was crucial, and there was definitely some rebuilding we had to do on site, just because there was a lot going on. And so with that being said about how much we going on, Simon mentioned some of the other folks that were able to help, and a massive thank you to all of the builders that partook in this. This was a tough collab, and I was hard on a lot of the builders here, but it's a phenomenal team of folks, phenomenal builders, and they were able to do a phenomenal job on this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to you and all the rest of the builders who talked through this. A really incredible project.
Thank you very much. And a special thank you to our sponsor, Eclipse Graphics and Brick Warriors. They provided all of the phenomenal figures from their design team, print shops, and a lot of the weapons, all of the weapons as well. So special thanks to them and everyone involved.
Keep up the great work. Thank you.